The things I am about to talk about are not easy things, but they are important things. Last May in Minnesota, a white police officer named Derek Chauvin was trying to arrest a Black man named George Floyd. He made George lie down on the ground and he put his knee on George's neck for a very long time. George couldn't breathe and he died. People saw this happen and recorded it on their phones, and they told Derek Chauvin to stop, and they told the other police officers who were there to stop him. But George died because everybody needs to breathe. People in Minnesota and all over the country protested again to say that Black Lives Matter. This spring, the state of Minnesota tried Derek Chauvin for the murder of George Floyd. And just this Tuesday, the jury convicted him of murder. He is the first white police officer ever in Minnesota to be convicted for killing a Black person, ever. We would not have this moment without the brave people who watched George Floyd die and told the police officers to stop and recorded video and told the story in court. We would not have this moment without the millions of people who protested and made noise about the death of George Floyd and all Black people killed by police.
Before I begin, I want to tell the children that are listening that I'll be talking more to your parents than to you, but please listen anyway, because it's important for you to realize, and maybe you have, that your parents do not always have the answers to your questions. My daughter just turned 21. She lives in St. Paul, Minnesota, 12 miles from where George Floyd was killed and 20 miles from where Daunte Wright was shot. She attends a progressive college that expects its students to use what they learn to make social change. But teaching theory is easier than dealing with the immediate consequences and realities of injustice and violence. And so the students, guided by social media and each other's passion and anger, are taking action. Some of their actions are physical. They collect groceries and distribute them to the neighborhood where the protests are happening. They arm themselves with umbrellas and goggles. They write their emergency phone numbers in Sharpie on their arms. They charge their phones and they go and stand in front of the line to protect the Black and brown protesters behind them. And then they leave the protest before curfew because several days in jail would mean missed classes and assignments. The students want immediate change, but do not fully understand how our justice and political systems work. And the truth is, those two systems are not actually working for everyone in our country. The students' hearts ache with feelings that they must hold on to when they go back to their quarantine rooms. Back in her room, my daughter calls and texts us, and we try to process all of this together. There are more questions than answers, and I need to realize that nothing I say will make living in the city feel any less dangerous. So I wrote this poem soon after one of our long phone calls where I knew what to say and I didn't know what to say. When your child calls to tell you the world is broken. Mom, the world is broken. Even though you are feeling the same way, you must say, yes, it feels that way, but we can fix it. Mom, there is too much stupidity and violence everywhere. How can you not agree? Agree and then say, it doesn't have to be that way. People can learn. Mom, I feel so guilty. You know years of guilt, but don't say this. You must say, your guilt isn't going to fix anything. Your guilt isn't going to make people of color feel better. Your guilt will not clean up a riverbank or call a legislator. Mom, I don't know what to do. Learn. You must learn as much as you can, and then you must go and help others learn. Use what you hear and what you learn to begin to take action. Start small. Mom, but what if a small actions feel wrong, but taking big actions will take too much of my time? At this point, try not to think of your own life, but know that you will anyway. Say, stay in school. Use your privilege to learn and fit your actions around your learning, even if it feels wrong to be part of a system that perpetuates the breaking. Mom, I'm so sad. These are sad times. Nothing is normal. Don't say when it was normal, it was still sad. Say, we will get through this. Don't add one way or another. Mom, I know I need to listen to you, but it is hard. Don't say anything. Let there be a pause, because the truth is, you both need to listen.
Thank you, Rebecca. These are not easy things, but one of the reasons we come together is to practice being brave enough to speak up for what is right and wise enough to find the right thing to do. I invite you to take 3 breaths with me. What are you feeling right now? Try not to make a story about your feelings. Just name the feeling to yourself. Are you angry, sad, joyful, excited, surprised, peaceful? We feel our feelings in our bodies. Where do you feel this feeling? What does the feeling feel like? You can talk to your feeling, either out loud or silently. You can say hello to the feeling. You can thank the feeling for coming. You can ask the feeling what it wants you to know. And then you can listen to what your feeling has to say. You don't have to act like you're feeling. If your angry feeling is so angry that it wants to be mean to everyone, you don't have to do that. What you can do is listen to why your feeling is so angry. and then try to change what made your feelings so angry. We listen to our feelings to remember what's important, and then we can decide how to act. After listening to your feeling, what are you inspired to do? Breathe into that feeling. Thank it for helping you. Choose an action. Maybe your feeling reminded you that you want to help someone or be gentle with yourself. Maybe your feeling helped you know that you want to be with other people who feel the same things. Maybe your feeling helped you remember to talk to someone who can change the thing that upset you. Maybe your feeling reminded you to spend time with someone you love. It can get confusing when there are lots of feelings, but remember that our feelings come to us to remind us what's important. Even when sad and angry and scared come at the same time, listening to the feelings will help us remember why. Being brave is not ignoring our fear. Brave is listening to what's inside the fear and the other feelings to do what's important. Jagged rocks 2 and 3, all souls are sacred and worthy. Courageous love transforms the world. This is the heart of a liberation theology. Everyone deserves to thrive. We're going to change the world so everyone can thrive. Okay, sermon over. No, not really. But this isn't a thinking thing or a learning thing. It's a commitment thing, an active love thing, a doing thing. This is the Islamic month of Ramadan. And one thing I think about a lot during this month-long festival of fasting and feasting is the concept of taqwa. Taqwa has been translated in many ways, but the one that works for me is awareness of God or God consciousness. But the interesting thing about it, as I learned in seminary, is that a person can't only focus on God for taqwa. Taqwa is enacted by being in right relationship with other human beings. And that's saying something in a religion that's defined by submission to God. To be in relationship with God, you have to do right by people and doing actions, not just thinking about them. Active love, like it's the most important thing in the world. So I ask you to look for all the action in this moment when an incredibly rare thing has happened, when a white police officer has been convicted of murdering a Black man. Several bystanders took video, bore witness, called the police while watching the police commit murder. Then they relived the horror of this event in court in a nationally televised trial. Darnella Frazier, a 17-year-old girl, took video on her phone and uploaded it to Facebook. Without her, George Floyd's murder might have been buried as a so-called medical incident. Several people have credited her bravery and her video as making a case the defense could not refute. That was courageous love that transformed the world, at least a little bit. George Floyd can't come back, and he did not die as a willing sacrifice. He was murdered. But because the people around him loved their fellow human beings enough to speak out against this injustice, we have this glimmer of hope. Love, courageous love, is not a feeling. Courageous love requires us to do something, to be open to change. Love that sparks a rebellion. Love that guides us on our way. Love that is a way, a process, a thing that only exists when we're engaged with it. As the song says, in desperation, we found freedom. In freedom, we found love. In love, we found devotion. In devotion, Spirit found us. So now, dwelling in courageous love, led by it, what are we going to do with the fact that at the same time the jury was delivering their verdict in Minneapolis, a police officer in Columbus shot 16-year-old Ma'Khia Bryant 4 times and killed her? Convicting Derek Chauvin of murdering George Floyd did not prevent Ma'Khia Bryant's death, nor the 60-some people who died at the hands of police during the Chauvin trial, or the 6 people killed by police in the 24 hours following the verdict. So what is love telling us to do? How long will we accept living in a country where government employees kill the people they are theoretically paid to protect? Let's go back to that spiritual practice of listening to our feelings, because I imagine that a lot of us have feelings when we think about the police killing our neighbors. Let's take 3 breaths. What are you feeling? Don't tell yourself a story to explain the feeling. Just feel it and name it with the feeling word. Thank the feeling for coming. Listen to what it has to say. After listening to your feeling, what are you called to do? Is that calling the way of love? Is it the way of collective liberation? Does it put people who have the least power at the top of the VIP list? Thank your feeling for sharing its wisdom. So what are we going to do? This is the moment to stay connected to yourself now in your body and to our collective dreams for a future where everyone is free, and to love, the courageous love that leads the way. Please join me in prayer. Spirit of life and death, of love and power, we know that everyone is worthy. Everyone is sacred, beautiful, and precious. Breathe in us as we remember that Black Lives Matter, as we remember that freedom is only a mirage until we are all free. Help us live with courage in the path of love. Blessed be. Amen.